Thanks very much, Bev. Welcome, everyone, to June's Shard End Ward Forum on what is, or has been, a spectacular day and this very warm evening, possibly the warmest day of the year so far. Let's speed on through our agenda so we can all watch the football if we're going to watch the Germany-France game a little bit later on. But secondly, get a cooling drink, which I'll be able to do once we get through this meeting. So welcome, everyone. The first thing I need to advise you of is the notice that this meeting is being recorded, and residents listening or participating in the online meeting can record the meeting, and the meeting will be available as a future record accessed through the council's website. Item 2 then is local updates, and there's two things I want to talk about. First of all, I'm very, very much aware about the missed collections across Shard End Ward, missed refuse collections last week. They were all caught up on by the end of the week, and Saturday in particular, there was a catch up on all of those missed collections. I'm fairly confident that's all now been resolved. I've had lots of emails from residents right across the ward, and I've been corresponding with them all week to ensure that those missed collections were collected. I had a meeting with the assistant director and the director yesterday afternoon, and I've made it absolutely clear to them that this needs to stop, and that so we need to have the kind of refuse collection in Shard End that people get elsewhere in this city, i.e. one which turns up each week and collects all of the roads that they are required to collect from. So I don't anticipate there'll be a repeat of what we experienced last week. And then secondly, I'm also aware that the grass and the grass verges was in a state last week as well. And that is due to the weather conditions we've had over the last few weeks since the last grass cut. We had a very wet April, very cold May, and then a very, very warm, dry June, which I'm told creates the conditions where the grass starts growing very, very quickly. And that's why we had very, very long and unkempt grass verges last week. Again, those should all have been cut yesterday and today. So the ward should look a lot better this evening than it looked last Friday afternoon when I was out there. And I have to say, I was somewhat embarrassed to say I was the elected member for Shard End Ward last week. So to those residents who are on this call, if there's any repeat of any of this, please do drop me an email or give me a call. And hopefully you'll have either seen in the media coverage earlier today, or if you get a chance to see the local news this evening, that today the council has announced an extra £7.2 million of investment in cleaning up the streets across the city. Over the last 15 months during the pandemic, there has been an explosion of fly tipping and just the dumping of rubbish out on the streets. We're making this significant investment now to clear that up. And that £7.2 million includes 4 mobile household recycling centres, which will be deployed across the city using data and intelligence. They'll be targeted into areas where there's been a lot of fly tipping or where the take-up of the bulky refuse collection service is particularly low. So I anticipate we'll see one of these household recycling units, the mobile ones, in Shard End this summer, and that'll be an opportunity for residents to go and get rid of any recycling they might have stored up for whatever reason. And it will also be an opportunity for them to get rid of any bulky waste, because accompanying that vehicle will be also a waste compactor vehicle that can take any items of bulky waste. There'll also be money for neighbourhood groups who are willing to get involved with going out and picking up the litter themselves. We'll be recruiting some community champions to try and get that organised across the city, and hopefully we'll get that in Shard End as well. I think Linda Bradbury may well be an ideal person to start organising some of that, and the council will provide the equipment to help with it. And then there's money to clean up graffiti, further money to clear up dumping on parks and in open spaces. And then finally, you'll start to see deployed across the city, CCTV cameras, because we're going to take a much harder line on enforcement, which is why I was curious as to whether Tim was from fly tipping and waste enforcement rather than planning enforcement. So we are going to be taking a much firmer line on enforcement, and I anticipate that you will see people hauled before the courts if we catch them fly tipping. And we are introducing a wall of shame where we are going to be naming and shaming fly tippers wherever we can catch them right across the city. So as I say, it's a significant investment to be deployed, 7.2 million. It represents 10% of the street cleansing budget. So it should make a difference. And again, if there is any fly tipping or dumping in Shard End, and any of you have any evidence as to who's doing it, you can pass that on to me confidentially, and I will be more than happy to get the service to do something about those who are either fly tipping or dumping. So those are the things I just wanted to report into the forum this evening. I'm happy to take any questions that anybody might have, either on what I've spoken about or anything else in the ward, if anybody's got anything. Okay, if there are no questions, I'm happy to move on. And we can move on to the neighbourhood network scheme. And Natalie, I noticed, has now joined us. So let me hand over to Natalie, who can introduce herself and tell us something about the scheme. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me today. I work for the Neighbourhood Network scheme in Hodge Hill, and I have done since back in 2018. So it's been a while. So if any of you don't know what the Neighbourhood Network scheme is, it's a project that supports community groups that are supporting people that are over 50 across Hodge Hill. We've recently been asked to do a pilot. So originally we would focus at over 50s, but we've now been asked to expand to younger adults with additional care needs. So that's now kicked off. It also means that we have grant funding available to community groups that are supporting those groups. So we have a budget our normal budget for the over 50s projects, but we have a very small budget for the pilot, which is the younger adults with additional needs. And those additional needs are learning disability, mental health, autism, carer support, sensory impairment, and physical disability. So we're just kind of in the mapping stage at the moment. So just finding out what's available in the area, understanding what the needs are. And then in about 2 months' time, we're looking to open the grant fund. So if anyone has any questions about that or knows what's needed in the area, then please get in touch. And of course, as well, as I said, the grants fund for the over 50s is still open. We're still encouraging groups to apply. I think for the last month, we haven't had any grant applications. I'm not sure if that's because of the Commonwealth Games fund. It may be a result of that because there's a bit of money available there. But if you've got any ideas or if you know someone that leads a group that wants to develop an idea, please do get in touch. I'll leave my details in the chat. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's more than okay. Anybody, any questions? We'll come back to that Commonwealth Games fund, Rog, because I'm hoping you're pulling our bid together. Anything for Natalie on the grants that are available, particularly around the over 50s, I guess. If you think about the age profile of Shard End ward.
Yeah, I'll just ask one question, which I wasn't expecting to be raising. I have attempted a couple of times to get some funding from the police, their various community funds. I wonder if you might be interested in this. I was looking at providing people that are isolated, be that through age or health or mental health or whatever, with information technology that can ameliorate their loneliness, or during the pandemic could have actually tied them up with supermarkets to get deliveries, because I mean they may not actually be in the shielding group, but they're still very vulnerable. And though I tried 2 or 3 times to get this help, I was never successful. I'm not asking you to prejudge it, but is that something that you might be willing to have a conversation about?
Yeah, definitely. So we in the last, I think, 6 to 8 months, we've funded two digital lending libraries, which is very similar to I guess the project you want to develop in Shard End. So the first one was for Allen Rock, and then it's kind of expanded into neighbouring wards. And then the second one is in Ward End, and that's again very similar. So they both offer either a tablet or a laptop, which also has a dongle if they don't have Wi-Fi, and they can borrow the equipment for up to 6 months. Each project is slightly different, but as a whole, that's kind of how it works. So yeah, that's definitely something we would fund. And I guess the thing to mention is that our fund does it does allow you to I guess get staffing costs to a certain amount and capital. So if you need those laptops or tablets or even the connectivity to be paid for, we will pay for it as long as the I think it's up to 50% of the project. So as long as it's within that budget, then yeah, definitely. And as I said, it's still up to £10,000. So it's definitely possible.
I won't go over the whole application now, but I was actually in conversation with people like Age Concern, because we have a local group here. I was looking at doing a request on the Birmingham Airport for some of the capital equipment, because obviously there are people who don't have connectivity and are maybe not IT literate. So we do have a training thing, and obviously we need competent IT people in order to set up email addresses and Facebook accounts and all the rest for them. We did have a group that used to do that, unfortunately, at Castle Bromwich Hall Gardens, but sadly they've now gone. But yes, there's a big scope for this, and I would have actually liked to have expanded it a little bit further down the road for young people that are in digital poverty. But that would obviously require a tie-up with the schools, because obviously we would need the secure networks.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of, I guess, the IT support, so the other two groups that we funded, they have kind of recruited that member of staff to provide that support. However, I know that in other constituencies, they've outsourced it to, I don't know if you know who they are, DigiKick. So they're a project that is citywide that has historically always supported people that are over 50 to get online. So that's their whole project, and they've kind of expanded across the whole of the city. So a lot of them have outsourced to them the technical side, and the dropping off the tablets or the laptops, and that like the befriending side of it. So the virtual coffee mornings and stuff, that's been kept in-house within the group. So it may be worth, Roger, setting up a meeting separate to this. I'll bring along our grants officer, just so we can kind of understand what exactly you're looking for. We can explain what we can and can't fund, and then at least then you can see who you need to approach for maybe the other bits of funding if you want to include younger people.
Yes, I just thought that with Age Concern being just down at Moorfield Hall, it was a very easy, quick win.
I think so too.
Younger people, it gets very much more complicated, because you've got to get schools and you've got to have all the safeguarding, etc.
Yeah, you're right. And our relationship with Age Concern at Moorfield Hall has always been really positive. We funded them twice for the emergency food packs that they put together, and the home activities throughout the pandemic. So yeah, we I guess our commissioners and us, the most important thing is to make sure the money goes to Hodge Hill groups if possible. If we've got to outsource, then we've got to outsource, because there's no support within the community. But if there is, then yeah, definitely.
Well, I chair Shard End Communities, the neighbourhood forum. So look forward to hearing from you.
Brilliant. Can't wait.
Okay. Well, if we can take something forward through the forum, that would be very, very good. So thanks very much, Natalie. Let's I've lost my agenda now. Let me move on. The the local police team are next. Bev, I don't think we've got anybody here from the police, have we? They have sent their update, which I have got.
I haven't received that actually, so I don't mind sending it out if you want to send it on to me afterwards.
Yeah, I will do.
Okay.
So first of all, they're saying that they're happy to report that crime figures have remained steady despite the easing of lockdown restrictions. They will be continuing to monitor crime reports and trends as they emerge to intervene and keep communities safe. They want everybody to play their part by taking the time to read and follow the crime prevention advice, which can be found on the West Midlands Police website. In addition to the monthly newsletter, they're now sending out regular updates through a free community messaging system. And that might include information about specific crime that's recently happened, police activity in the area that day, or advice to help keep people safe. And they're encouraging people to sign up to that newsletter. And there is a link in this newsletter to do precisely that. And then they set out their priorities for the coming year, I guess this would be. Obviously, one of their aims is to keep community COVID-19 safe, but then beyond that, they've set priorities around tackling domestic violence, which incidentally, if you weren't aware, there's been an increase of that during the various lockdowns we've been through over the last 15 months, and reducing youth violence. The team support these priorities on a daily basis whilst working in our local communities across the Shard End ward. In addition to these, they also have other local priorities. They are vehicle crime, drug use and dealing, and road safety, including the issue of off-road bikes, speeding and parking. And we do know we have an issue with off-road bikes on the Cllr Valley. On their activity, lots of works behind the scenes. They executed a drug warrant at an address in Shard End, where they discovered a large amount of drugs and cash suspected to be part of an international operation. They arrested 3 men at the scene, and those men remain under investigation while inquiries continue. They then mentioned something they're doing in Tile Cross, which is not really relevant, and something they're doing in Kitts Green, where they've actually, interestingly, they've carried out weapon sweeps looking for items that may have been discarded or hidden on parks and public open space. Well, they could do with doing that in the park here in Shard End. And they've been very busy seizing a selection of cars from local streets. They've seized these cars for various different reasons, whether they are stolen, uninsured, untaxed, or being driven illegally. And they've spent some time addressing issues around parking, particularly outside schools at the beginning and the end of the day, and trying to educate drivers about the dangers caused by parking close to schools at collection and drop-up time. They're then encouraging people to get involved in various initiatives they're running: Neighbourhood Watch, Street Watch, and Speed Watch, which is an initiative about speeding vehicles on the road. And that update has come from Police Sergeant Orla Jenkins and Police Sergeant Matt Goldsmith and the Shard End neighbourhood team. I will, Bev, as you suggested, send that to you so you can send it around. And also, I think, Bev, if we can encourage a police officer to attend the next meeting, that would be helpful to have them present their report rather than me doing it. Anybody, anything on policing? Before we move on, we will move on then, in that case, to Cllr Highways and their update. And I think we have Kevin. Are you doing this on behalf of Cllr? You are, yeah.
Yes, of course. Right, mine's nice and quick and simple tonight. Few things to talk about. We've got the Brookmeadow Road resurfacing scheme still ongoing. We've got a lighting scheme on Enford Close. Packinson Avenue's having some tree pruning done on it. at some point, if it hasn't already, because this is saying the 8th of June was the end date. Footway scheme on Chardin Crescent, as everybody's probably aware. On Chardin Crescent as well, we've also got some localised resurfacing scheme on the carriageway. So the carriageway, as we know in Chardin Crescent, is terrible in
It's
places.
a mess, let's be honest.
So we've got some large scale patching works going on Chardin Crescent.
Kevin, will that include the area where the zebra crossing is, right out in front of the shops and the library?
I hope so, because I've raised that job myself.
Yeah, that needs renewing, that does.
If it doesn't get done, I will be checking. The date for these works on Chardin Crescent is the 25th of June. So I will make sure. Well, I can't make sure, but if it's not done, I will be chasing that. That is quite bad there, and it really, really does need attention.
Sorry, what was that date again, please? Thank you.
25th of June for that one. Now, I have to say, with all these resurfacing schemes that we're doing, the large-scale patching works, the dates are fluid. They can move, but not by much.
The other road that's desperately in need of some resurfacing is the Heathway.
Yes, the centre line down the Heathway, isn't it? Yeah, I'll get that sorted.
Is there anything in this for the build out of the curb at Brownfield Road on the Heathway that was?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of any dates for that. That would be one for Alan Porter.
Okay.
He's bringing that forward, Raj. I've seen emails where he's talking to whoever it is about the scheme and when it's going to be going live. So he's still dealing with it.
I believe there's been another couple of accidents there over the last about 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
It's been quite bad. Brownfield Road, I'm also aware that there's quite a bit of rubbish dumped down there, fly tipping and the like, and quite a substantial amount of building material that's been left on the verges and things. I'm dealing with that as well. I'm going to get that all cleared and sorted. Apart from that, it's business as usual for us. We'll keep maintaining where we can, and we'll get the any potholes and things repaired that need doing.
Cheers, Kevin. Don? Your signal's not very good, Don. We can't hear you. No, we can't hear. I don't know if you could write it in the chat, whatever it is.
Try turning the video off.
Yeah, that might work. No, we can't hear you, Don. Anything else then on anything Kevin's had to say? We'll try to get the Heathway sorted out because that is particularly bad.
Yeah.
Daniel?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, there's some works going on Coneyford Road, I believe it is at the moment, just next to us off Gorsfield by the Shardway. Like the roads, half of it's been dug up, and it looks like there's just fresh concrete poured. Do we know what that's in aid of?
It's not something we're doing. I would imagine it's probably a utility company, but I'll get somebody to check that out.
Yeah, it's just that half the road's tarmac, and then they've just poured like normal concrete on the other half of it now where they've dug it up.
Okay, no problem. I've got an inspector in Shardend all day tomorrow, so I'll get him up there to have a look what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Where was it, Daniel?
On Coneyford Road, just
Coneyford
Road, off the Shardway.
Yep. Okay.
There was a question asked of me at the last meeting as to why we're not replacing slabs when we're doing these resurfacing schemes. I think it might have been Roger that asked the question.
Did.
The reason for this, I can't give you an actual answer to this. These are the approved designs from Birmingham Council. So these are the schemes that are designed. They're designed with tarmac. Those are the approved designs, and that's why we're doing it. And unfortunately, that is the answer to that question.
Yeah, sadly, with ice and snow, which of course is a bit scarce at the moment, it can be very, very dangerous. Tarmac is a bit dangerous underfoot.
Yeah.
And as we've got an ageing population, of which I'm one.
But any issues that do occur, Roger, that you do notice, please just let me know, and we'll get it dealt with.
I was right, because I'm on Brookmeadow. I was rather amused to see a couple of days they closed the road, people sat in vans all day manning the barriers, and no work was undertaken.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot.
I'm guessing a load of tarmac went missing.
Yeah, yeah. I've got no answers for that one, I'm afraid, Roger, at the moment.
Right, while we're dealing with highways issues then, shall we bring in Tim? Because I am very keen to hear what we can do actually to force the agents to repair that car park.
Yeah, thank you very much to Beverly as well for inviting me, and it is good to see that there's such an active community group here that meets regularly. So I've not been to one of these before, so it's quite interesting. Basically, I was sort of alerted to this matter, I think more by I think Alan Porter, isn't he, the engineer? And so I sort of got involved in that, but at the start. But I was advised pretty much from the get-go by the planning officers, the principal planning officers, that they were aware of a number of issues and some outstanding conditions to do with parking, etc., waiting times, and those conditions needed to be discharged. So part of my role as an enforcement officer is to try and get certain outstanding conditions discharged. Everything has now been discharged on the original 2010 application. So yeah, that is positive from our point of view. But of course, we've got this outstanding issue with the car park, which is horrendous, because obviously I have seen it. And the problem we've got is that they submitted the details at the time in 2011, which went through a number of discharge of condition processes till we're happy with the materials that were going to be used. They then implemented the permission correctly, but of course, because of this clay subbase, it's caused chaos. And it's interesting to note that different materials were required on the parking bay areas as opposed to the transport areas, and the transport areas are the parts that have failed quite dramatically. Obviously, I can see repairs have been made at certain times. Now, the new owner who took over in, I think, 2015 or so, obviously the works had already been in situ for a few years, at least maybe 4 years. So they've managed to get the developer Barrett's to agree that their subcontractor who carried out the works has carried them out incorrectly, and there's sort of a 10-year, or I'm not sure if it's an 8 or a 10-year warranty. So that means they can go back and say, you need to complete the works at your expense. But of course, that's where it's becoming difficult, because I think with lockdown, it's caused a little bit of a delay, because originally the owners of the property were hoping the works would be carried out during the summer, now 2021. But I understand that the latest news is that the technical reports have only just been handed to them. So they're still reviewing that. I was supposed to go out a few months ago to meet them all on site, which never transpired. Now, what I'm trying to do as an enforcement officer, part of enforcement isn't to enforce per se and just serve notices, is to help to look for a mediated response to try and get a negotiated solution. And the reason we have to do that is because our hands are tied from an enforcement perspective, because we can only serve a notice if it's considered reasonable and proportionate. And it's very difficult when you've got a new owner that's taken over who is actively responding to our requests and working with us. But it's very frustrating, because normally a case like this, I would have expected to have had some resolution in about 2020. But I do think personally that the COVID lockdown situation has obviously knocked 6 months on top of this. But I'm prepared to try and see this through to the bitter end if I can, because I think sometimes it's easy to close an enforcement case and just say, look, you know, it's been 10 years. We can't expect to enforce on this now. I mean, as the advice I was given, but I have kept the case open just because it's something that's got to be sorted. It's just, when you see it, you just know it's got to be sorted. It's a danger to the public. Trip hazards galore, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
So I'm determined to push on to it. I am hounding the boss of the company, who explicitly states that he wants to get this problem fixed. He does not want to raise any of the rents for anyone to pay for this. He really wants them, the subcontractors, to complete this work, hopefully on you know, to a satisfactory conclusion. Obviously it would be great, common sense would prevail in my mind, just as anyone would think, well, just tarmac it. But obviously the planners were very insistent that you have these permeable blocks.
Well,
So,
actually, Tim, that's my fault.
oh, sorry.
Because no, don't apologise. I had when the design was being made, I was, God, I guess romantically talking about, could we create something similar to a small town square, the kind of thing you see in France or Belgium, and that's why they came up with this idea of using these block paving things. And of course, as you've just pointed out, it hasn't worked.
No, I mean, I think the best thing, Councillor, is oh, sorry, I've let Mr. Lee speak. Yes.
Go on then, Roger.
I'm going to say that this has not been going on just for COVID in the last 18 months. For the best part of 10 years, we've been complaining about potholes, loose blocks, people have fallen. Injuries have been paid out by Zurich on behalf of LCP, who are supposed to be looking after it. There are businesses and residents paying out for environmental services. And the only thing that they've ever done for environmental service is plant a hedge around our Christmas tree. All of the green spaces are just, well, you could have a job to find them. They look like concrete. They're so well trodden down and driven over. Not fully charged. Councillor, how long have we been?
Yeah, it's gone on many years, Rog. You are absolutely right. And welcome, Keith. You can probably guess what we're talking about: the car park at the shops and the library. The issue in Shard End. We don't spend our time talking about taking down statues. We spend our time talking about repairing car parks. Kevin.
Yeah, just Tim. Would it help with the situation in that car park if I've got to check the legality again, but would it help if I closed that car park down on safety grounds?
I think it would concentrate attention, which is what it needs. I mean, LCP are very difficult to engage with. We would, as a community, and together with the business community, we would have liked to have had a dialogue. I mean, there are things like when we have meetings in the library and people get car park fines, or we want to have an event at Christmas when we light the Christmas tree. We would have liked this to be cooperative and collaborative, and they've never engaged with us.
No, they haven't. That's right. But I don't think, Kevin, closing the car park is going to help, because we'll just displace all those cars onto the surrounding roads, and that'll just make the situation worse.
It is just getting so bad in there for it on safety grounds. It is for me.
It may have to happen at some point, because obviously, as I think was identified quite some time ago, there was supposed to be a drainage system under this car park, and apparently it's either never been done or it was done inadequately. So obviously, LCP send a contractor in, and they just pour sand all over the car park to fill the gaps. And the next time it rains, it washes out again, and probably takes a little bit of subsoil with it. So we end up with the car park looking like the surface of the Somme.
Let's bring Tim back because he's been talking to the managing agent.
Yes. I mean, just to support your view, I was shocked when I first came across the car park. I've got to say that it was a bit of an eye-opener. I think I know it's been going on for many years, but it's quite recent with planning enforcement. I mean, we've certainly not had a complaint prior to this concerning this matter. I think issues were probably raised with some of the planners, I think, historically. But just so you can understand, probably a good sort of analogy would be if we ask for a specific type of surfacing or cladding to be placed on a building, and after so many years it would fail. It's quite difficult then for us to go back and say that they haven't implemented the permission. Now, there is some wording within the condition that says it should be maintained thereafter. But the problem with that is that sometimes you can have unenforceable conditions that are unreasonable, because you can't have it. You can't go back in 20, 30 years time and say this condition said it should be maintained thereafter. Many housing estates, for example, will have a condition on them for landscaping schemes, for example, that will say it should be maintained for 5 years after. And I think this was drafted originally in 2010, and maybe things have moved on, and there's been a lot of discussions about unreasonable conditions that planners place that are impossible to enforce. But as I said, I think personally speaking, and I say this with complete honesty, I think that what we try and do in planning enforcement goes beyond simple notices. We do try and look for a negotiated solution in tandem with other departments, if we can, at any point, to try and resolve the situation. And I know, and I definitely have to state now, that I want to see this resolved. It has to be resolved. So
but for your information,
yes,
as I said, it was unfortunate LCP haven't engaged, because we did actually have not only bring a problem, we did actually try and bring a solution, in as much as the environmental green spaces could have been looked after by local residents voluntarily. I'm not saying that we want to grow cabbages around All Saints Square, but we're quite happy to build raised beds and things like that and engage local residents. Now, obviously, if that was done, then LCP haven't got to engage gardening services. The residents haven't got to pay an environmental charge. If the businesses wanted to contribute towards the costs, then obviously, if that's done through a community interest company, not for profit or a charity, that actually, instead of being a burden on the business, it actually becomes a charitable donation, which is offsetable against corporation tax. So there's all sorts of win-win type situations. It just needs people to engage properly and talk to us.
You mentioned, Tim, that the managing agent now are keen to resolve this. They want to get it sorted out.
Yes, yeah. They've stated this in writing on numerous occasions. I think the process is rather frustrating from their side. They're moving. I wouldn't say that the company are moving at a snail's pace. I'm interpreting that the process is moving at a snail's pace.
Okay, well, it's encouraging they do want to fix it. Keith?
I haven't met Tim before, so good evening, Tim, and nice to speak to you.
Good evening.
Sorry, Keith. Tim is a planning enforcement officer.
Yeah, that's fine. I understand what he is, and it was nice to hear what Roger was just saying as well. But to come back to Tim, and to come back to LPN, and we keep getting this from council officers that we can't enforce this down the road, and after 10 years or 15 years we can't expect company A to do X, Y and Z. Now you start off with a specification of what you do, and you put that specification in inverted commas into law. You then have a clerk of works that you appoint as the council to look after that work, that it's done correctly. Now, if anything then goes wrong with that work, certainly in the first 5 years, or if not the first 10 years, it is not the contractor that's at fault. It's the city council that's at fault, because either your specification was wrong, or the clerk of works that you independently employed to do that job got his job wrong and didn't do his job properly. So somewhere along the line, we've got to stop being mealy-mouthed about this, and we've got to start bringing some of these commercial companies to book, and you should be taking them to court because they haven't done the job they were asked to do. Full stop. I mean, what is it that's so difficult? Shard End is only one. You can go round all over the city and see all of these things happening here, there and everywhere. And it isn't the contractors' fault. The contractors will always get away with what they can get away with if they're allowed to get away with it. And I know that because I worked in insurance. So there's no bigger people than insurance people that if there's a hole in the skirting board, they will get out of it. If there isn't a hole in the skirting board to begin with, it makes it far more difficult to get out of. And when you then take them to court, they've got to explain to the court or to the High Court judge for that amount of money as to why they haven't done the job properly, and to get the High Court judge on their side, as you know as well as I do, as a professional man, for the judge to decide in their favour. So, you know, it's so easy, isn't it? It's so easy at the end of the day. Get contractors to do the job properly and then enforce it thereafter. Now, I accept that after 20 or 30 years, it gets more and more difficult. But there's absolutely no difficulty in law over the first 20 years if people like you do your job properly to begin with.
I think, though, Keith, I think you said, didn't you, Tim, at the beginning, that they had actually carried out the work correctly?
Yes, yes.
Well, if it was that correctly, why is it 10 years down the line from now? And it isn't going wrong now. It was going wrong within the first 3 to 5 years of it being done. So, you know, I don't accept that. I'm sorry.
Well, I think, Keith, it's the other thing you mentioned. I think it's the specification.
Well, look, at the end of the day, we can all keep blaming whatever. It's not about blame. It's getting the specification right to begin with in law. And it's all back to the city council at the end of the day. It's not the contractors, because the contractors will just get away with what we allow them to get away with. It's about getting the specification right. It's about getting the clerk of works, whether he works for the council or is independent. And it's about 5 or 10 years down the line, if they haven't done the job properly, take them to court and let's get the money back off them, or a percentage of the part that's gone wrong. You've only got to take a couple of court cases to court and it to go against people, and you'll be amazed, because that's what happens in a commercial business. You'll be amazed if a couple of court cases go against a commercial business and they lose a lot of money, how quickly heads roll and how quickly they start getting it right from there.
I think initially
you can see, Tim, that passions run high about this car park. So
well, no, it's not about this car park. I know I live within 100 metres of it. It's not about this car park. It's, again, like so many of these things, a whole bigger picture of the city council being shown and not to be able to do a job properly from beginning to end. And we've got the Commonwealth Games coming next year. You were on the television, as you know, Ian, dinner time about this. Yep. If we can't get a small car park right at the Shard End, God knows what Perry Park's going to be right in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years or 10 years time. I mean, you know, you've got to put it into context, haven't you?
All right, Keith. All right, let's just focus on how we're going to get a solution to the car park. We'll worry about the Commonwealth Games.
Ian, have you had conversations with Barrett, who did the original work? Because
yes.
Barrett's were initially, they were just house builders. I think this is one of their very early commercial ventures, wasn't it? And of course, then there was the argument that LCP took it over as managing agents. They should have had more caution over the contracts. I think this has been an argument.
I think you are right, Roger. I think that that development in Chardon was the first time that Barrett's had built a mixed-use scheme. They'd built retailing with residential. Don't think they've done it before. Anyway, Tim.
Social housing.
Yeah.
And again,
Anyway, Tim,
on that
you
one,
mentioned that the managing agent is keen to resolve this. So in terms of what they're going to do and when, what do you think we can expect?
Well, now they've received this report, which they're considering, because they don't think that it's this is a report that's been provided to them. They're going back to ask a number of questions, because originally, as I said, a few months ago, we were going to meet on site and we were going to be discussing when the works will go ahead. Now, if this fails, LCP have stated that they would have to implement the works themselves at their cost. But I think it is prudent within the context of how long we've been investigating this, that they should try and get the works done under guarantee, if a guarantee exists. The main thing for enforcement is if you serve a notice, it doesn't always mean to say that the person could comply. You can take someone to court and you can fine them for not implementing the requests to the council. And unfortunately, this does happen on a number of long-standing cases where the works are still not completed. I could cite a number of cases, and we're talking 7 years ago. And sometimes people can take the fine from the judge in court, and still we haven't a resolution. So if we've got someone saying yes, we want to resolve this, we need to grab it with both hands. And you know, if this can be achieved, this will be a great victory for everyone. You know, I think that's what we're looking for, a victory in this case.
I agree. We've got to keep pushing and see if we can get them to do the work. I don't think we can do any more, really.
And if you can let them know that there are residents that are willing to be cooperative and collaborative and be helpful and constructive as well, it will change. It should change the mood music. But at the moment, over the last few years, all we've had people talk about is falling over, damaged knees, insurance payouts, and nobody's talking to anybody. That's not helpful.
No, I agree. So we'll see if we can try to get them get engaged. So thanks for that, Tim. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
So sorry, Tim. If there's anything you need from Cllr Highways to assist with this, then just let me know.
Yeah,
because there was actually
Kevin Gibbon.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, Kevin
There was
Gibbon.
also a conversation about Ownell Road, wasn't there? The speed humps, the platforms were never done properly.
The one thing I'll say about Ownell Road, Barrett's did come back in and do that and do the repair that was required to the footway on that one, and they did a really good job, and it is still solid and safe. With regards to the car park,
the roadway as well.
Yeah, the carriageway. Yeah, I don't know about the speed humps, Roger. I can't comment on that. But with regards to the repairs that they did to Ownell Road in general, they did a really good job, and that is still solid and safe, and does meet specification for safety at least. But with regards to the car park, if there is anything I can do, obviously it is private land, I can't get too involved with it, but if there is anything I can do to assist, I will do.
Thanks for that, Kevin. And thanks both of you for updating us on the highways and the car park issue. Now, what we have an additional item that's not actually listed on the agenda, but we do have with us Julia Pizzolini, if I pronounced that correctly, who's from Birmingham City University and is running a project in East Birmingham that's part of the East Birmingham Inclusive Growth Strategy. Yeah, that's what it's part of. So I'll pass over to Julia, who can explain to you all what she is doing.
brilliant. Thank you very much, and well done for pronouncing my name very well. I know that the spelling is very confusing. Thanks. I'm going to try to be brief because I know that everybody wants to go and enjoy the sun, since on Thursday it's supposed to rain, isn't it?
Yes.
So I am Giulia, and I'm a research assistant. I recently started a month ago at Birmingham City University, running a project of community engagement, and it's funded, as the councillor said, by partially by the City Council and linked to the inclusive growth strategy. So what I'm trying to do is to focus on 3 areas in East Birmingham, one of them being Shard End, and then I've got Borsley Green and Ward End. And I'm speaking to community groups and organizations to identify, and to residents as well, to identify what issues are important for them. So what are the aspirations, goals, what's not going so well, what people would like to change, and so on. So at the moment I'm organizing some consultation with community groups and organizations, and hopefully going forward I will find some people among the residents who would like to become community researchers. So some people who would like to go more in depth and explore some of these issues in a different type of way. So that could be a traditional kind of research via doing interviews or questionnaires, or it could be something more creative like a photography project or anything arty like this. So I'm looking for about probably 10 community researchers in each ward. And it could be any person with any kind of educational background, any age, any gender, and so on. So I'm not putting any limitations there. And I'm actually very looking forward to have a very wide variety of different people interested in different things and so on. So we're gonna deliver a training which will be accredited by the university. It will not be very formal or very in-depth, but it will just give a bit of a context of what a research is and how to go about doing it. And the community researchers as well will be paid during their engagement, which I think we haven't defined this exactly, but I think it would be around 4 months, 3-4 months, depending on what kind of research it will be. And hopefully we will find a lot of great ideas from the residents that will help inform the decisions and funding that come with the East Birmingham growth strategy. And hopefully they will encourage residents to be involved in speaking up in the ward meetings and in any kind of engagement by the council or by other authorities. Well, I mean, being part of this meeting tonight, I can see that there are a lot of residents who are very, very engaged already. So compared to other wards, people in other wards that I've spoken with, it seems like Shard End is very lively under that perspective. So that's it really. I'm gonna try to hold a couple of consultations, one towards the end of the month and the other one potentially beginning of July or the first half of July. So if anybody here or is interested in come and hear how we can take this project forward, please do so. I'm going to put my email address in the chat box. I don't yet have a mobile phone, but I will soon. So if you contact me by email, then I can also, I'll be able to give you my phone number as well.
Thanks for that, Julia. I wonder if anybody knows any youngish person who might want to take advantage of this opportunity, because it does seem to me that could, particularly if they're currently unemployed, could lead on to them getting either further training or work in the future. Roger.
2 or 3 things. I mean, Astrid, I haven't spoken to her for some time, but she seems an obvious candidate. This seems to be right up her street.
Yeah, yeah.
From my own perspective, if you want to produce a flyer calling for volunteers, introducing the scheme, I can put it onto the local social media.
Okay, that's brilliant. May I ask you where you're from, Roger?
Sorry, I'm chair for Shard Communities, which is the local neighbourhood forum.
Yes,
We're
I had
an
it in my list, I
umbrella
think, of people to
organisation.
want. Okay.
And we try and look after smaller groups and that sort of thing. And
Okay.
we work collaboratively with people like Age Concern, Welcome Trust, and one or two other people who may be interested in talking to you.
Yes, that's great. I did have a contact with Cllr at Age Concern.
Yes. I think Claire's actually moved on, but yes, she's got a.
Okay, so maybe that's why she stopped replying to me. So there might be somebody else now. I'll make contact again. So yeah, that's brilliant. I will. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody put something in the chat. Let me see.
Yeah, that's is that you, Bev, offering to send
yeah. That's great. Thanks, Bev. So yeah, I can send my email address. Maybe you can email me, Roger, or you can send me your email address. That would be brilliant. But yeah, it doesn't need to be for young people only. Obviously, for young people, yes, who might be unemployed, this would be a brilliant opportunity to upskill and do something maybe a little different, use their creativity, imagination, and so on. But I wouldn't want to exclude older people as well.
Neither would I. These older people are my constituents.
So anybody is welcome.
Yeah, we're meeting, aren't we, Julia, on the 28th, I think, of June?
Yeah.
To talk about this some more. I will. I'll have a chat to some people around the ward, see if we can come up with some names for you. But I do particularly think it will be useful if we can find a couple of people who are youngish and unemployed and change their lives effectively through this project. That would be particularly good.
Yeah, that would be great. I did speak to the Charlotte, who runs the Pump Community Centre.
Yeah.
Which is in Glebe Farm, not too far.
It's in Kids Green.
Yeah, Kids Green. So not too far anyway. So I'm sure that she's got some.
Yeah, she would definitely know of unemployed young people, Charlotte. She's very good.
I've got a granddaughter actually who's waiting to go to Lincoln University, but she's finished school now, so she's off until October.
Well, actually, she'd definitely be qualified, wouldn't she, if she's got a place at Lincoln University? Yep. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Julia. And I'll see if I can come up with some names by the time we meet on the 28th.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Right, that takes us then to any resident issues or concerns that anybody might wish to raise this evening.
Are you saying anything about Commonwealth Games?
I can do. I was out at the stadium beginning of this week. I have to say the new main stand they're nearing completion of that now, and it just looks fantastic. And you stand there in the sunshine, and you immediately think this looks like an athletics facility you find somewhere in Europe, rather than the fact that you don't find such facilities in the UK very much. So I'm more and more convinced that it will become the national stadium for athletics post games, and it's going to be a fantastic facility. We've just got to make sure that it does get used. Birmingham City University will be the anchor tenants there. They're moving their sports department to the stadium, so that's going to be a big help. And we're also talking to other potential users to see if they might be based there in the future, to ensure the stadium gets used 365 days a year. I'm having discussions with, I've had one discussion with World Athletics about an event that we might attract there in the future. And there is the potential, I think, if we could get an organisation who was prepared to underwrite it, there is the potential to do an evening athletics meeting there under the floodlights, which would be really special, I think, in future years. So the stadium is all looking good. It's on time to be handed over to the organising committee April next year. It's on budget. I'm really confident that's going to be delivered. The aquatic centre is in a similar position, just over the border in Sandwell. That's going to be delivered on time and on budget. And they've really made some rapid progress with that over recent months. And then all the other plans are now starting to come together. We announced the ticket launch. That's why I was at the stadium. So you can get a ticket at every single event if you're under 16 for £8, and if you're over 16 for £15. Well, that's most events actually. I think the opening and closing ceremony, the minimum price is £22 to be fair, but that's still good value for money, I think. So it will be a very, very accessible games. And we launched the volunteers program a few weeks ago. We need to recruit 13,000 volunteers for the games. And we had 5,000 applicants in the first 2 hours. So if you're interested in becoming a volunteer, you need to get your skates on and make sure you get your application in. And Roger, I hope that you are now pulling together our local bid for the devolved monies for the Commonwealth Games to make sure that the community here in Shard End is engaged.
I tell you what, it's not. It actually went in with about 3 hours to spare.
Oh, good.
It's not an easy process. It's not user friendly. I kept going in ever decreasing circles. You start the application on the website. You then have to go and choose 3 companies that's on the approved list on the website to go get quotes. There was no companies on there that was recognisably having the equipment. Some of the companies that might have had the equipment only had a postal address for their head office. And when you tried to use the messaging service within the website, it didn't work. So I was going nowhere. Eventually, I did manage to get a conversation with somebody from NDSU.
Yep.
I had a number of conversations with different people. And one of the conversations covered the fact that Birmingham City Council may actually be putting mobile screens into parks. It's being mooted.
Yes, that's right. But I'll be very surprised if that includes Shard End Park, Rog.
Well, no. And I was asking, well, can we actually have one in All Saints Square?
Oh, right.
Well, so the next stage, what I've had to do is agree to go and get 2 or 3 quotes, you know, from reputable companies further down the road. Now, I'm not going to get these people running around until I know there is a conversation to be had. So I'm going to wait until July when the second round starts, and I can find out if we can piggyback on these screens in the park, or whether we've got to go and find another supplier. I would obviously I would initially like to hire the equipment, but I would like to keep open the opportunity to acquire the equipment after we've proved that it works, that the system works in the location, and then keep it as a legacy for other. So we've got Shard End would have its own public screen, be it on the car park or be it in All Saints Church Square.
Yeah, that's good. Daniel?
Hi, thanks, Ian. I recently emailed yourself actually regarding litter and drugs that are taking place locally in the community. I'm wondering what can we do to try and solve this. I mean, my wife goes out every Sunday with a litter picker and picks up nearly a full black bag just from the Shardway of litter that's dropped by taxi drivers that park there, having breaks, and people that just throw litter because there's no bins or there's nothing on this stretch of grass area. So what can we do to try and combat these issues? And obviously, just a few doors from my house, there's a housing association house which is prolific for dealing drugs that's already been raided once about 4 or 5 years ago. They still do it. We get a number of visitors parking, inappropriately to come and to pick up what they're after. And it's what can we do to do this? I mean, I'm filing police reports left, right, and centre, giving them videos, giving them images. Nothing happens. What can we do to improve our community? Because I'm only 35, and I want to make a difference, and my wife wants to make a difference. This is our home. This is what we want to do. But we kind of feel like we're, for want of a better term, pissing in the wind. Because doing everything we can to try and make it better, but nothing happens.
Well, I definitely think we need to get the police to do something about this property that's dealing drugs. And we probably need the police to do something in partnership with the council so that we can if they are council tenants, we can get them evicted if they are dealing drugs all the time. So it would be helpful, Bev, if we could get somebody from the police into the next one of these meetings to get them to account for themselves. You said you emailed me, Daniel. Have you had a reply?
I did, yeah. I know you said it was something you'd look into, but like I said, it's just I don't want to put this all on you because it's not all your responsibility to do this. It's a community. What can we do as a community to make change and to try and
Daniel,
Well,
would you be interested in a neighbourhood watch or a street watch scheme with the police?
I'm in the street watch scheme.
Okay. Are you getting the support that you want from East Policing Unit?
It's been a bit dry, obviously, because like everything, we blame it all on COVID. We've not been able to meet. So there is a first watch happening this Friday, which I'm going to go on and try and talk to the PSOs a little bit more. But like I said, it's just we're keen to make this. We don't want to look at our house and just see litter everywhere and constant cars beeping their horns and somebody running out, dropping a package in a window and off they pop all the time. It's
that's a real nuisance.
I'm part of the police advisory group, so I know that East Birmingham we've got quite a good policing unit who are very keen to engage with the public. So if we've got members of the public that are keen to engage with them, we have a possible solution.
Awesome, thank you, guys.
Dan, would you and your wife be prepared to organise a kind of community litter pick in that Shardway area?
Yeah, I mean, my wife goes all the time. Like you always got people walking past and going, "Oh, you shouldn't have to do that." Thank you for doing it. It's like, well, she kind of said, "Well, it's I don't want to see it outside of here." She did it Sunday, did a full black bag. We went for a walk after we finished work earlier, and lo and behold, it looks like she's not even done, not even been round at all, and that's only 2 days later.
Well, if we could persuade some of your neighbours to help out as well. The council now, this is what we announced this morning, we will provide equipment for community groups to do this, and I'm willing to come out and lend a hand as well. Do you think it's worth having a go at that?
Yeah, why not? It couldn't hurt. I know there's the Cole Valley group, isn't there, that go out quite regularly. So you can link in with those guys and try and do something as well.
Do you want to drop me another email then, Daniel, and I'll try and link you up with the people that what are they called, community champions. That's what they're trying to recruit to lead these community groups, and I'll get you some information.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks very much. Anybody, anything else they want to raise? We are, what are we now? We're 52 minutes away from the Germany-France kick-off, so let's not revisit the car park issue.
Councillor, one thing from me, my last comment, if you ever want to go for a little walk around the ward with issues that have been raised by residents or anything, just let me know. From a highway maintenance point of view, if you want to go for a little walk around with some of the residents, we can do that. Yeah,
that'd be useful, Kevin.
So yeah, whenever you're free, whatever. I know you're a busy man, but whenever you're free, if you want to go for a little wander around and whatnot and have a look at a few things, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to free up some time in my diary on Fridays actually to do this sort of thing. So I'll be in touch, Kevin. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Perfect. No problem.
Okay, if nobody's got anything else they wish to raise on what is still a glorious evening, and if it is going to be raining over the next 2 days, I suggest we make the most of this. So can I thank you all for coming along. We've got the date of the next meeting, haven't we? Which is, relocate my agenda. Date of the next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 27th of July. Now, there is every possibility we might be able to actually have a physical meeting on that date. Bev, can I just ask you what the thinking is in the council about a return to physical meetings for these fora?
Hi, Councillor. Hi, everyone. We're still discussing it actually, and I think we're just waiting to see what the guidance is. And I think with going back to physical meetings, assuming there are no restrictions in place, then yeah, then that will be fine. I should have eventually. But if there are restrictions in place,
Yeah.
you know, we've still got to do social distancing and that sort of thing, we'll have to do a risk assessment on every venue that we use to see whether or not it's
Well, there's an upstairs room in the library that you could social distance half of the residents of Shard End in.
I think the problem is though sometimes we just with the public meeting, as you know, we just don't know how many people will turn up on the night. So I think it's just looking at the risks really and seeing what we can and can't do. You know,
and we don't know yet, do we, whether the restrictions will come off on the 19th of July, because there's still a way to go, I think, with the Indian variant. We've got 61. We've got 61,000. Yes, thank you, Roger. The Delta variant. Yes, I was speaking to some of our Delta community earlier today. We've still got 61,000 people over the age of 50 in Birmingham who have not been vaccinated. It's just incredible, and it's most of those is because they, for whatever reason, have declined the offer of the vaccination. It is worrying.
They'll end up in hospital.
They will end up in hospital. You're right. That's exactly what will happen. Okay, I think given what you've said, Bev, and given that we've got no certainty the restriction will end on the 19th, we'll do the 27th of July over Teams again. And at that point, then we can probably look forward to the next meeting after that being face-to-face. Hallelujah for the return of those meetings.
No, unless, of course, the weather's good and we can have it outside in the car park or something.
We've had 2 weeks of this weather, haven't we? That must be the summer, surely.
We just don't know, though, do we? So,
we could have it at the pub.
I think we have the meeting in All Saints Square, to be fair.
We could do, couldn't we? Yes.
We could.
Wear your flat shoes so you don't trip up and fall over.
No, do it in the church square.
In the church square, okay.
Well, we'll do the next. We're going to do the next one over Teams, Bev.
Okay,
so
sure.
Can I thank everybody for their attendance tonight? Thank everybody who's come along and presented their bit, the officers from the City Council, and particularly Bev and Pat, who helped me make this meeting work. In fact, without Bev's support, I doubt I'd be able to have these meetings. So thank you, in particular to you, and hopefully see you all on the 27th, by which time we must be heading towards the final of the European Championships by then. Let's hope England are still involved when we next meet.
Okay, cheers.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Bev.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.